Brandon Anderson, who we know decommitted from Tennessee last month in the Vols 2026 recruiting class, kind of revealed why he decommitted. And I don't know if it's a bad look for Tennessee, but I wonder if this is an issue for Tennessee going forward, which is something you can maybe address. But he says, apparently, and he told 247 Sports, that the reason he opened his recruitment back up was, quote, I felt like I should have more opportunities. Tennessee wanted me to shut down my recruitment after my official visit with them. I didn't like that. I have more interest in other schools too. So I had to decommit and experience my high school time. So long story short, after he committed to Tennessee, the Vols wanted him to shut down his recruitment and not look anywhere else. And I guess he decided that he should reopen his recruitment then. And that's where it comes.
All right, let me he's a 2026 guy, so this could change 15 times between now and then, right? That's the way.
Right, it could.
He's out of North Cobb. He's an interior offensive lineman at 6'4", 320 pounds. He was a 4-star athlete, and that's out of Georgia. To me, his response is a little bit surprising because he is so highly regarded in where he plays. I think when it's the local kid down the road that's dad played for UT, and you can probably play games with him a little bit, Caleb. I don't think that you can play games with a guy of this ilk. So of all the responses that he could possibly come up with, this one's the most troubling. Now, to defend Josh Heupel for a second, he's right up against the scholarship limit, guys. I mean, right up against it, like one or two guys away, and they may already be at 85. I understand where Tennessee is going here and trying to strong arm him, but I just don't think he's the type of guy that you can do that to. He's too highly regarded. Florida State, Florida, Georgia, they're all after him. That to me is not the way you handle an upper crust guy.
So you're saying you don't think Tennessee handled it right, telling him to shut down his recruitment?
Yes, in a roundabout way, that's what I'm saying. I think if this was a 3-star kid that's down the road at Powell High School, that you could do this to somebody, and he's going to say, okay, I'm shutting it down. But especially in this day and age, you know, we discussed your contract. I didn't say I got to know by midnight tonight or the deal's off the table. You know, that just seems like common sense to me.
Well, yeah, and it depends on the caliber. You're right. We talked about when he decommitted that we think that they may not be as high on him as a lot of other schools are. And there's a possibility that maybe the reason they wanted him to shut down his recruitment is they thought he could be a valuable piece for them that could work out, but he's not worth the energy to try to make sure they stay here. You covered Eric Berry's recruitment.
You say that, though, but he was a 4-star out of the Atlanta area, and we ad nauseum talk about how important that is.
That's true. No, that's a good point. So I'm wondering, I can't imagine they do this with everybody. Where it comes to me, it's like, so you covered Eric Berry's recruitment, right? Back in 2007. Now he took if I remember correctly, he did take all the visits. But he was always Tennessee, wasn't he? There wasn't much Fulmer had to do to land him, right? Like they knew he was going the whole time.
I would have been very surprised had he gone anywhere else. Very surprised. I never saw the angle. You know, he did play quarterback, so I wondered if maybe he'd want to play some offense and somebody could offer him that. But I never felt like there was a realistic threat to his recruitment.
Right. And I think the coaches knew that, so they didn't mind him taking all the visits, right?
Yeah, totally agree. I think he was probably silently committed for 3 or 4 or 5 months before he went public.
I think so, too.
I mean, let's put it this way. I don't drive to various cities for a guy that I think might go to Tennessee. I was pretty sure that he was going. I mean,
so isn't it also
I could start touring middle schools if I wanted to.
Isn't it also like if you got a guy committed to you, if you think you're safe with him, don't you want him taking other visits to waste those other schools' time? And then maybe you could go target one of their other schools?
No, I don't think you ever want, silent or not, I don't think you ever want a commitment going somewhere else. There's just too much that can change. I'll give you a great example. Do you remember a name, Jason Respert?
Yes.
Okay. He was one of the most stand-up dudes I ever covered. A great guy. He was committed to Tennessee. He went to Florida, and it would stun me if he did something illegal just from covering him at the time that I did. But he was accused of some sort of assault, and that a lot of people thought that they basically set him up because he didn't really want to go to Florida and they just wanted him to get there for a visit. Now that's worst case scenario, but no, I don't want my kids. That's like telling your kids they can go play in the street. I don't. That doesn't seem like a good spot to be in.
No, so it's a tricky situation on how to maneuver this. I think maybe you're winning me over that you let them do the visits, but you just got to do the work to make sure they stay. You don't want to make the Les Miles mistake. You may not know this, Dave, but do you know the Les Miles mistake of what he did in 2007 that really killed his credibility on the recruiting trail?
I don't think I'm aware of that. 2007?
It was when Nick Saban took the Alabama job.
Okay.
And he thought he could cobble the coaches to all collude to screw over Alabama. So there was a player that was leaning LSU, may have actually even been committed to LSU, but it wasn't signing day yet. And Nick Saban sent him an offer, and he was going to Alabama to visit. Because he was going over to Alabama to visit, Les Miles pulled the offer. And he thought he could get all these SEC coaches to collude to like pull offers to like basically blackball Alabama. That's one of the stupidest things ever done in recruiting, right?
Well,
and
Nick Saban has better recruiting ties in Louisiana than Les Miles had.
I know that, right?
It was state. I mean, that's a fact. I mean, he walks in a high school room. They're like, "Hey, coach, thanks for stopping by and taking a look at our kids." I mean, he's like a rock star when he walks in those places.
Yeah. So all that did was screw over Les Miles and his reputation. So I guess I'm bringing that up because I'm saying you're right. You're hurting your credibility to a certain degree. But so do you think Brandon Anderson decommitted because he wanted to take the visits, or do you think he took it personal that they wanted him to shut down his recruitment and he thought that was wrong?
Well, I'll throw another theory at you, but I look at his rating and that doesn't feel like this could be the scenario. What if they told him you need to drop 10, 15 pounds and really hit the weight room? What if there were academics? We don't even discuss that. That used to be the biggest thing in the world. Kids all the time. Are they academically eligible? How are their grades? I mean, there could be a million different things going on, but it doesn't seem like to me this is the guy that you could toy with. He's too highly regarded. Now, they might not think so. They may have him. They've got a board up, and they've got green, yellow, red. They may have him as a yellow. A yellow means that just keep in touch with him. Let's see what happens. In other words, you need to develop. That's not uncommon with the big guys, but obviously he's not a green because you don't have that type of leverage when you go get those guys to say you can't take any more visits.
Yeah. So they threw other stipulations that he didn't want to come out and say, basically. But that's possible. How big was he again? I'm pulling it up now.
330 range last I checked.
Well, that's kind of what 320. Okay, that's kind of what they want for their interior linemen, though. I mean, Javonte Spraggins was bigger than that.
Yeah, but you and I both know there's good big and there's bad big, and I'm not accusing him of being out of shape, but sometimes that you could add some more muscle and be a little bit lighter. I don't know. I don't know ultimately what it came down to, but Tennessee to strong arm somebody, that's something that Nick Saban could do in his prime. If Tennessee wants to go win 3 or 4 national championships and then start strong arming people, that would be the time to do it. I don't think that now it's going to be effective whatsoever. And it wasn't.
It wasn't. But again, it could be possible they're not really losing sleep over losing him, because it's weird that they would strong arm him like that. They would have to know that you can't strong arm that way. So a part of me thinks they know what they're doing, and they may not apply this to everybody. I mean, I don't think college football is in a situation now. You tell me, Dave, is college football in a situation where an old school coach could step in and say the same rules and stipulations apply to every recruit and every player, no matter what?
I don't know. And I don't know why Tennessee would be concerned about a prospect visiting elsewhere. Maybe a culture or a girl or whatever wins him over. But Tennessee's not one of those schools. And I remember UConn tried to do this a lot. And you can imagine how that went under Randy Edsall. Didn't go well. And it probably cost him his job. And Tennessee is not going to have a prospect come back to them and say, man, those facilities are a little bit nicer than yours. Your culture is not quite as good as to me,
there's one theory that.
Okay, I'll take a theory. Lay it on me.
Okay, the root of this visit was Florida State. as we know, Florida State has just recently poached 3 Tennessee players: Jason Jenkins, Squirrel White, and a former Tennessee player who was at Memphis, Elijah Herring. And I think Josh Heupel, does he feel threatened by Mike Norvell and Florida State and what they're doing right now? And is that what he's worried about?
When you're in college football recruiting, you're always afraid of everybody and everything that goes boom in the night. I mean, yes, you don't want him going to Florida State. Maybe he was Jason Jenkins's. Maybe Jenkins was his host on a visit. But no, you don't want him to go to Florida State. But I would
going to Florida State and having a defensive lineman as my host. I want some better hosts than that. I want a hostess.
Well, that's kind of the setup person. They get you to the right places.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's not the end result. Come on, Caleb. Don't let your mind go there.